since we're sitting in a queue, since we're just going to sit in a queue here, I think something I would love to see is we're just salvaging in the Fortune, but the server was really bad, so I tried to swap, and I got stuck in a queue, and it's probably going to time out. So what I would love, though, is to just chat about the Fortune for a second and why I feel the way I do. I've seen some pushback on this idea. Feel free to push back on me. It's kind of a hill that I would die on with salvaging because I have experienced salvaging in other games, and I really like the way this is. And I do think that the game that I really enjoy salvaging in EVE Online is a game that they might be emulating here. In my head canon, that's what Torsten said. I'm going to look back at the Star Citizen Live Q&A crafting and base building where he discussed the changes coming to structural salvage. Reason I think I'm more excited for this than ever is we have this discussion of Drake Vulture versus Misk Fortune. And the Drake Vulture is just far and beyond the winner between the two ships, which are supposed to be equals. And the reason it's far and beyond the winner is because RMC is all salvaging is right now. Very few people are doing the structural salvage. If you are, you're doing it on a reclaimer because you would do it at scale. And, basically an RMC, one SCU of RMC is like 11,000 credits, where one SCU of construction materials, which is what's created by structural salvage, which is the breaking of a ship and basically disintegrating it and bringing it into your cargo hold, is 3,000. So unless you're able to do it at scale, which you can do with a reclaimer, then you can make good money with that. But in this case, you're pitting two single-seater ships against each other. And for who's asking what is RMC, it's recycled material composite. It's basically you burn off the hull of a ship and it becomes this new commodity called RMC. And I think when you take the RMC production and minus it by 50% with the Misk Fortune, the game just feels less fun. But if they do what is said here, or what I believe was said here, it could get a lot more fun. So let's see what he says. You got it muted. Hold on. Here we go.
There's the thing that I mentioned at the beginning, that Salvage will get also a little revisit, and something that I'm really happy and excited to tell you is we will have some time to revisit it, and what we will do there is, I think, something that a lot of people already expected or for the initial release, and that is in regards to the construction material that you actually get from munching from
structural salvage.
From structural salvage. Thank you. That is basically the ships are made out of certain components, and once you basically get.
So listen very closely there. He did not say made out of materials. He said made out of components. And components could be anything. It could be literal, what do we call shields? What do we call power plants? We call them components, right? So he may mean those, or he may mean the crafting recipe for a ship may be more than just iron, copper, steel. It might be more than mining materials. We know that they wanted to go down a direction of unique materials for mining, right? If you're mining in a ship, there'll be unique materials that are for that. If you're mining in a gray cat rock, there'll be unique materials like hadanite for that. If you're hand mining, there might be unique materials for that, like janelite. If you're what was the other one? Oh, your base mining, there might be unique materials for that are entirely different than the ones that are on the surface. Little weird, but sort of makes some sense. We have the same thing with salvaging. You have RMC when you're doing the hull scraping, and you have construction materials when you're doing structural salvage. What they want to do is add a number of different components, whatever that means, that you'll be gathering when doing structural salvage. What does components mean? I don't know if he goes any further into this, so let's see.
Gather them through that. You will have those materials, and then there will be processes to separate them.
Now
but
he
this
says
is something
materials.
that is still being decided of what
Yeah, and so now he says materials, and then he says processes to separate them.
way we want to go down there.
Yeah, the thing I really like about this is that it ties it into the dismantle side of crafting, that if you dismantle something, you'll get back some of what it's made of. Same thing with salvage. Your ship just kind of becomes a portable dismantling fabricator thing.
And that's the part that I'm a little iffy about. Okay, so now I remember that part. I remember him saying this. So, okay. Because basically what this is reverse mining. And you do not have to mine to get the end material. So I'm not sure how I feel about that. Right? But yeah, I was kind of hoping that you would get materials out of this, not materials, components, like things like, well, the crafting recipe for a Misfortune, since that's the ship that we're talking about, would be the like there's computer chips, there's screens that you know, there's projectors for your UI, there's cables, there's things. We've seen cables and these other little materials that are found in contested zones, right? So a big cluster of those by salvaging ships would be cool, and you know, you can gather them in a contested zone from a loot box slowly in FPS. That's kind of what I have in my mind. But regardless what I have in my mind, RMC gathering sounds like it's still very different than whatever they want to do with structural salvage. And if you want to make the Misfortune better, or you want to make it more equal with the powerful RMC gathering of the Drake Vulture, then you would just make it better at whatever they're doing with this. And that's my feeling, is that you can have two ships that are near equal to each other, but one is doing one aspect of its gameplay really well, the Drake Vulture and RMC, because it has two lasers, and then one where it has one laser, but it can do this, whatever this reverse crafting thing is, however they want to gather the materials from that, you can say that this has better, you know, more efficiently salvages, you know, that way. You get more material back. Could be one thing. I don't like the idea of you getting refined mining materials through salvaging. I find that to be weird. But yeah, it could be slower, but it reduces the you know, maybe the RMC is higher quality as well. There's a bunch of directions they can go, and I don't want them to go, the Misfortune is not selling as well because people are saying it isn't good, so we have to nerf the Vulture. I think they did such a good job making the Vulture fun. I think they need to eventually nerf RMC. I've talked about this a lot today and many other days. The price of RMC is just so astronomically high, where it's so readily available. It doesn't really make a lot of sense. But yeah, like I see RMC being like a very low tier material that's used all the time, but cheap. So you'll make a lot of money from it because you're able to produce a lot of it, but I don't see the reason why it should be so valuable, like near the top of tier of value. I find that to be odd. But the if they nerf RMC, then they kill the loop. No, they wouldn't kill the loop, because in a dynamic economy, or in any economy where you say, okay, RMC is used in all repair recipes. RMC is used in certain crafting recipes or a lot of crafting recipes, then it's not going to kill the loop because it's needed. And then the price will go up based on demand. But right now, it doesn't make sense from a supply and demand standpoint of there's a ton of supply, but we don't understand the demand. So I'm not saying nerf it, but I'm saying just make it make sense. If that, I shouldn't have used the word nerf, but yeah. Outside of that, I think that's what you want, right? You want both ships to be viable. And if you try to balance them to be equal, then I think you're doing the thing where you're just choosing the way the ships look. And that's cool, I guess. And some people will do that. But I think it would be way more gamey and fun and neat to bring both on the field for a reason. So like if you have a big salvaging group or even a small one of you and just a couple of your buddies, what if it was just you and a friend and you went salvaging? I'm in the Drake Vulture doing the RMC, you're doing the construction materials, or you're doing structural, right? And then we put everything together and we use those materials to craft something, and then we sell it and we share the money, right? That sounds fun to me. And the other aspect is, again, I said it earlier, they did such a good job with balancing the feel of like RMC gathering with the Vulture. It feels really nice. It feels really satisfying. It comes in at a pace that feels good. And I feel like if they took that down and lowered that and made it slower or made it worse, it would be disappointing. It would make me sad. Even like I just wouldn't enjoy the loop as much. I enjoy the feel of the loop. Take all the money making, all of the crafting, everything out of the equation. It's a super satisfying loop. It's super enjoyable. And I just like doing it. And they felt that with the Fortune, not getting out of your seat and constantly moving boxes is, you know, would counter the lack of an additional laser. It doesn't. It just doesn't, because it takes away the best part of the game. You want to highlight the good and you want to kind of, you know, work with the feedback that was negative. They took away the best part of salvaging with the Fortune and didn't balance it appropriately with the convenience side of it. And I don't know. I don't know how I feel yet. I think that, but why I wanted to talk about this is I think that there's tons of opportunity to make it better, right? I think that there's just tons of opportunity to go, the Vulture's in a really good place. Let's bring the Fortune up to the Vulture. Don't change the Vulture. It's nice. You can obviously, you know, make it so the price of RMC probably ends up in a place that makes more sense, but you don't need to change the actual actions that you do in the Vulture. I think it seems pretty good. Just need to bring the Fortune up to its level of fun, not necessarily its level of money making or whatever. That will come as the game grows and the economy builds. I think that'll be totally fine. But yeah, so that's pretty neat. And sorry for whatever the flashing is. I don't know what's going on. I basically updated OBS and all my alerts are breaking. So need to figure all that out. But that's just how my feeling is. I would love to see it be better for structural salvage. I would love to see the Fortune be able to hold 2 SU boxes, maybe, because it can spit them out in a long thing. That would be another thing. So you're moving less boxes. If you want to do the convenience thing, they could do that. And yeah, because you could do 2 SU and spit it up. You could do 2 SU and spit it across. And then you could do 2 SU and turn it and put it up. And there's your 6 on each side. Done. Easy. Easy peasy, right? And now I'm moving 1, 2, 3. Or I'm moving 1, 2 to the back of the grid. That's another thing they could do. But yeah, you kind of want to make them equal, but not equal, and both useful for their own thing is what I would love to see. That's my personal feelings. But I've seen a lot of fighting back on my feelings from people. So yeah, I don't know. But that's how I feel about it. I think there's so much opportunity there.